TSM played really well versus C9. It was a really close match, and C9 just really punished their small mistakes.
A double for Jensen, redemption, now it's 3 for him. Impact still alive in the front line, refuses to go down, it's a hat trick, and a double kill for Sneaky.
Cloud9 is the strongest team in NA LCS.
That Cloud9 hype, they take down the defending champions. That's gonna be the game, the match, and Cloud9 ending week 1, first place.
Welcome to week 2 of the North American League Championship Series. We're coming to you live from our LCS studios here in Los Angeles, California. Saturday morning, EU LCS is finishing up. They've had a very lengthy day of games, and then no rest for the weary. If you're watching the LCS and want to tune into some more action, NA LCS has got you covered here. We see Phoenix 1, Envy, all of our squads making their way into the arena for today's bouts. Hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson. Aiding me on the analyst desk this afternoon are Aiden Zyrene Moon and Mark Zimmerman. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
I'm doing pretty well, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Pretty well? Just pretty well?
Pretty well.
Kobe was stupendous when I had him on the desk a couple days ago.
I'm
What about you?
miserable.
And Mark is miserable. Wouldn't have it any other way. Now, before we touch on our games today, let's review the standings. FlyQuest hold on to their first place spot for now. Cloud9 right behind them with TSM in third place. Meanwhile, fourth place is shared between Team Liquid, Phoenix 1, and Immortals, while yesterday's results have Team Dignitas and Counterlogic Gaming sharing seventh place, leaving Echo Fox and Team Envy in last. But expect those placements to change or shuffle around as we look at our schedule for the day. To start, we've got Immortals opposite Cloud9 on NALCS 1. Then TSM hope to maintain their momentum from yesterday as they go up against Team Liquid. Then over on NALCS 2, Envy debuts their starting jungler Lyra against Phoenix 1, with Echo Fox looking to pick up their first match win against Team Dignitas. Now let's briefly recap last night's games before we jump into today's matchup, starting with FlyQuest, who moved to 3-0 here at the start of the split.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely surprising given what they were expected to do in the preseason, but they're 3-0 despite what everyone's going to think is happening. They are still kind of weaker in the early game, which is what people expected, but it's not as important. No one's able to punish them like we thought they'd be able to do, and once they get into the mid-late game, it's obvious that FlyQuest has the advantage with their shot calling.
Exactly. Their lanes are not performing too well in terms of the lane phase, but once High gets freed up, starts roaming around the map on things like Twisted Fate and Corki, then he definitely gets that shot calling done that he's known for. And I think that this is a team that will test bottom tier teams' shot calling, and they'll be able to take them down. But as they approach the top of the standings and they go against teams like Cloud9, well, if they're able to hold up in shot calling, then the individual skill gap will definitely show.
Yeah, will they be able to keep up with teams that have larger individual skill gaps between them? But of course, you know, High, Moon behind him have been performing very well here for this squad early in the split.
It's really surprising, too, because High's coming back in, and he left when it was like, oh, champion pool not so big. They're actually replacing him with Jensen so they can perform internationally. He's doing pretty well right now in terms of his numbers that he's putting up and his leadership. But integrating Moon into this team, and Moon having the best showing that he's ever had in the LCS, that's the big standout for me, is how is Moon performing this well? He's getting some good champions, but High seems to be giving him a lot of confidence.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that develops over the split. See if he can remain consistent from the jungle. That'll be the key for them. TSM, though, another squad that I want to talk about, having a shaky start to the split. Last night, finally, games 2 and 3 of their series, they started to look a bit better.
Right, and I think TSM was a team that was often defined by how well they worked off each other. Once they got a lead top, they could snowball at mid. Similarly, if they ever got the lead mid, snowball at bottom. And game 3 in particular was a game where we saw Hanser make repeated roams to the mid lane and really set Bjergsen up for success. And then they tried to transfer that bottom. Not quite as clean as we're used to seeing back when Doublelift was on the team, but it is a step in the right direction, exactly what we were looking for coming into this week.
Yeah, coming into week 2, beginning of the split still, TSM, they looked a little bit better and they had improved their macro games slightly as the series went on, but Wild Turtle is still the question mark for me because they're missing that shot caller in the bottom lane. So now they're having Hanser roam down to camp for Bjergsen with Svenskeren, and then they try to free up Wild Turtle like you were saying, Mark, but right now, Wild Turtle is still not at that level, right? He's missing a lot of Varus ultimates. He's not actually performing as well as you would want, but This team, they still have to shake off a little bit of rust, and we'll see what they can do later on in the season.
Yeah, we heard yesterday that the team with Double Lift had a lot of direction. Whether the direction was good or bad at times is up for debate.
At least you got one.
They
Yeah,
had
Double Lift
direction and they
plays,
were
so.
moving somewhere. It's up to them to find that again this time around with Wild Turtle. We'll see if other teams can show that kind of improvement this weekend. Team Envy in particular will look to show their true colors as Lyra arrives to join their starting roster.
Yeah, Lyra is finally here, so Ninja gets out of the jungle that he hates, and he gets to go back to mid lane. So we'll see maybe some quirky champions from him, but honestly, now we get to get a real opinion of where Envy stands, because Seraph has very high praise for Lyra. Seraph has actually been playing a ton of Jace and carrying from the top lane as much as he can, but it hasn't been enough just yet. So we'll see what this does for the team and what their shot calling and map movements look like with Seraph freed up.
Right, you would think that with the experienced Lyra coming into the team, he's been playing pro since 2013, he'll know how to snowball a successful top laner, like it seems like Seraph has. He's gotten huge CS leads in most of his games, so if he gets just that little extra help to get over the top and start actually carrying the games, I think you can see Envy actually start looking really good.
Now, this is going to be a tough question to answer because you don't really have any evidence to pull from. But
I love these.
Yeah, I know.
Rampant speculation. Let's go.
Setting you up to fail. Here we go. No, but you know, in this MVP1 series, with the addition of Lyra, do you think that that's going to be enough for Envy to perhaps take this series and start moving in the right direction for their split? Or, you know, are they going to need the time to kind of ramp up and get to their full potential?
I'm not going to say I think Envy's going to take this series, but I do think what we were talking about with being able to snowball the top side, Zig is the kind of top laner you want to test that out against. He's a very stable top laner, but he's not the type to really go toe-to-toe in skill matchups in a lot of situations. And so if you can force him onto a tank and then get Seraph the counter pick with a carry and then snowball around with Lyra, then I think you can see that they look really good this series and potentially take it, but I still think P1's favored.
Yeah, it's definitely a test to see where Envy stand in the standings, and P1 as well, because right now, it's like P1, where are they? They did pretty well against Dignitas. It went 3 games, but we don't have a read on them. And they're a bottom lane focused team at the moment where they kind of ignore Zig. Ryu needs to become more consistent. So to answer your question of Envy, well, I don't know if they'll have enough to take it, because I know that P1 boot camped in Korea. They've had more practice time together, so they look a little more polished. And Lyra got here 2 days ago, right? So I don't know what his condition is like, if he's jet lagged or not, and how he's going to perform.
I'm just excited to see Lyra up against Inori in the jungle. We got a very vocal, very aggressive young guy in Inori, and then Lyra, lots of experience coming over from the LCK. We'll see how he fares. It looks like the teams are just about ready to go, so it's time for us to send it over to the casters to get underway.